Good day to all of you. For now, let us say that schooling has stopped for 2020 due to COVID-19. Without engaging in homeschooling, 800,000 teachers will lose 120,000 pesos worth of monthly salaries each, which they could have used to help educate 20 million Pinoy students. Meanwhile, the OECD says that if a student misses up to 10 days of schooling, their chances of graduating high school drops to 75%. Please take this to our own hearts. And home is where our hearts are, alongside the barking dogs, cars that run like quick dogs, the many teka, that you and possibly even your siblings say like a machine gun when it comes to tasks in the home. Home is where you say soft was in those moments where you blankly stare at what the teacher is saying, or the hard wah may internet as you race against deadlines and your internet connection fails. These times are interesting, wherein our school is now really closer to our hearts, eyes, and fingers. Some might say that due to the internet and logistical problems, homeschooling is ineffective. Or is it? I, Mio Cabrera, will break down the following reasons why not stopping school during the pandemic and engaging in home learning or homeschooling is the best thing to happen since sliced bread. First is, of course, protection from COVID-19. Many of us may remember the ancient era where jeepneys ruled the streets, and not just tricycles, bicycles, and dogs that are now free to do what they wish. Nowadays, we cannot have face-to-face classes, as that will require us to have commuting trips. Some of us come from other towns, like Los Baños, and I personally come from Cabuyao, a 30-minute to 1-hour ride to Calamba. When face-to-face classes were still an option, we sometimes could not avoid laying our heads on many parts of the jeep, including fellow passengers, due to sheer exhaustion. Imagine that in COVID-19 times. It is a gamble to go into a jeep. Next is the diverse array of learning delivery methods. That is the second benefit. We must remember that homeschooling does not need to be always online. In fact, according to the Department of Education, modular learning is the most popular and is preferred by nearly 7.2 million enrollees, or 1/3 of all learners. Only 2 million, or just 1/10 of Pinoy students, went online. Still, DepEd offers many learning strategies that teach the same content, meaning fewer people get left behind. Learners using both methods are equally graded, and with teachers especially being considerate to them. The third is the sense of a one direction offered by a standardized school curriculum. 1,000 years ago, from March to October of 2020, some of us, like me, were aimless. We ask questions to ourselves like, should I study something to prepare for online classes? Should I play games? Or watch YouTubers like the Hololivers or Mr. Beast? Should I go and pet the cat that is napping in front of my house? Should we watch TikTok videos or perform in them? In short, these questions are dispelled when you have homeschooling. Because having homeschooling with a standardized curriculum will give you a sense of what to do to advance to the next level. The benefit of our homes is that also, using a phone, we can also access tutorials and courses much easily, even those beyond what your teacher gives you. You can open a can of knowledge with Khan Academy. Or you can connect tubes in your brain with YouTube tutorials. These complement the standardized curriculum offered by DepEd, and thus we can reach a better state of learning, a much more diverse know-how or skill set. Lastly, the web has billions of megabytes worth of educational content, and being able to access them in our homes is a boon. Additionally, you have to remember that everyone, you, your teachers, everyone, is more considerate of each other. Gone are the days where our teachers cannot easily accept a faulty internet connection as an excuse, or us having to awkwardly stand in front of them in order to explain why could not submit on time. Here, we just need constant, respectful, and clear communication with them. So each of you will know the best course of action. For example, while making our own speeches, we may have consulted many speeches from TED Talk, which is hard to do in school where the Wi-Fi connection is either non-existent or poor. After watching the one about the master procrastinator, what the speaker have said may have moved us, making us procrastinate for at least an hour. But you see, we have absorbed the idea of making speeches a lot more effectively while in the comforts of our own homes. Because, once again, we have access to internet much easily and in a much more comfortable way. Sixth is the economic value of homeschooling and how it supports teachers and tight-budgeted families. Teachers are the backbone of our country's workforce. And if we do not give them jobs, how else will they feed themselves and their families? Being a private tutor or business person is unstable. Back then, on Facebook and Reddit, we may have seen the plight of private teachers forced to turn to selling junk food after being laid off from their work. The Philippines cannot afford to have that happen to the public school teachers, which form the bulk of the teaching population. Now, for our own families, our parents will rather see us learning and being able to advance to the next year rather than just lazing around without anything done. Plus, they are making sacrifices during this pandemic. Don't you think that studying with your best attitude is the best way to repay them? Plus, can you endure that sudden drop in your chances of becoming a high school graduate if you stop schooling for this year? While internet issues may manifest like an occasional jack in the box, if 2021 continues with learning in mind and hot geared up action, this year can cater to students in this decade. With enough curriculum flexibility and consideration of teachers, we can all surmount the challenges posed by the cons of homeschool learning. Right? And thus, we can summarize all of the points here. Homeschooling is the best option we have, the most viable because of its flexibility, consideration, the only option that is better than nothing. And lastly, the fact that it is the most practical for all of us due to its diverse set of options and selections of learning. As the home is where the heart is, we should also put our hearts to dedicating our time to learning in the comforts of our own home. That will let us shine, our minds shine, for the benefits of our hearts. Hearts that will be stronger, more determined, and unwilling to let COVID-19 kick out learning. As students, we must kick off our own home learning as part of our fight against COVID-19. Once again, have a pleasant day to all of you. And thank you for listening.